Hey nesters, welcome back to Nesting Haven. Today we're heading to Goodwill. This is a smaller Goodwill in my area. The larger one is still closed for renovation. So I haven't been to any Goodwills in a little bit. I've been kind of avoiding it, assuming this one, the only one in our area, would be swarmed with people. So this was the first time I headed out to check it out. Wasn't too bad. It was pretty overpicked. I was able to pick up a few items still for resale purposes and a few things for myself. So let's go ahead and check it out and see what they had. I first walked in and I remembered that they were keeping the purses up by the front, so I went over and checked those out real quick. I have been getting into that a little bit more. Like I had said previously, I don't really necessarily look for name brands. I kind of just go off of what I think looks cool, what I would personally wear. So I checked those out. I really thought this one was quite beautiful, and I always have a hard time opening up the bag trying to find the label of the maker because I'm using one hand to record. But yeah, I thought that one was quite gorgeous, and they had various prices. They were between about $5 to $10 for most of the bags, so that is the price range I was working with. I really am drawn to color, so I like this little slouchy heart bag there. It's kind of cute. It wasn't in the best of shape. This one here ended up having a new tag on it. I did pick this up because it was a newer item. It was in really nice condition, and I don't think it cost too much. I think it was $5 or $6. It has this nice corduroy exterior to it, and yeah, it was just really a great bag. I am going to be sharing with you most of the items that I picked up today in this video, but I will be sharing them all again in a separate thrift haul where I'll talk more about what I'm keeping, what I'm reselling, a little bit more information about the pieces and how much I think I will be able to make off of them. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that video. I really like the looks of this, almost a tassel. I guess it's more of a fray, but I thought it looked really nice. It's very bohemian, and I saw a couple bags like that today. I only picked up these two bags. This first one here is a insulated bag. It's a really nice little lunch tote. You don't have to have that standard tote that is kind of not the best looking, right, to carry around, so you can carry a nice little bag and keep your lunch and snacks in that. So I thought that was a cute one, and then of course that corduroy one that was new with tag was excellent. This vintage shirt was just kind of hanging on the end of the rack there. It's a vintage Nicola, and I kind of liked it. It has this paisley look to it. It does have a slight shoulder pad in it. It's not super thick. It's just a little thin shoulder pad, but I know vintage clothing is selling really well right now. I personally like it as well, so I figured I would pick this up and give it a chance on eBay or even Etsy. It is vintage, so I could sell it on either platform. Admittedly, I get a little overwhelmed looking through the clothing at thrift stores. The larger thrift store is crazy big in their adult clothing section, so I don't often get over there to look too much. We do have a specific vintage section that I'll look through, and often I'll look through the dresses, but that's usually about it. But this store, when you walk in, the clothing is all right up front, so I just made my way around because I saw the bags and a couple of things piqued my interest, so I looked through one aisle here. This is a Old Navy sweater. I really like the maroon to it, and it had a little peace sign on it. It's going off camera now, but I did end up picking that up, and I'm just going to keep that for myself. I thought it'd be a nice little cozy sweater to wear around the house. These two horses caught my eye, and I wasn't familiar with what the brand might be. I did find a tag on them. They happen to be American Girl. American Girl items sell really well, especially items that are discontinued. So one of the horses was missing the harness. It had some significant damage to the tan cloth. One had it pretty much intact. It had one little flaw in the canvas around its body, and then the harness was a little bit broken. And so I wasn't quite sure what I should do there. I found this vintage Gem Coe Juicer. It is in red. They didn't have a price on it, but I did purchase it, and she gave it to me for $1. I got a little bit of a discount at the end as well, so I think I got it for maybe around 75 cents. I like to pick up these themed lunch boxes to store my kids' toys in. PJ Masks, they have a lot of little PJ Masks figures, and it just holds them very nicely. It helps keep it organized. Toys and organization for toys is a nightmare, so anything I can pick up to kind of help maintain the mess, I'm all for it. After Christmas, I think we all do this. I kind of rearranged my house a bit, and I've been working on a couple of new gallery walls in the process. I've kind of done some decluttering and wanted to work in a couple of new themed gallery walls. So I like this piece. I think I'm going to resell it because I don't think it goes with my specific walls I'm working with. But at the same time, it kind of goes with my home, so I might be able to find another place for it. So we'll see what ends up happening there. It's just one of those items I go back and forth on. I always get really nervous when I look in this section because I always feel like I'm going to break something the way they are stacked together. This store has it on a very small shelf, and it has this little teeny bar in the front that kind of wiggles. So I got out alive. I didn't break anything. I did find a Norman Rockwell picture. It's in a newer frame, likely cut out from a calendar or something like that, but it was still really cool. I have never seen that image before with a man eating his lunch at work on his lunch break. Is kind of cool. And yeah, they didn't really have much in this wall decor section. It's one of my favorite sections to find things in, but I didn't see a whole lot. I could kind of see there was a cross stitch in the back here, so I pulled all these out to see what it was. It's kind of cute. It's a more country style theme. Doesn't really go with my decor. I do collect cross stitch items. I suppose I could have picked it up to resell. Someone might have enjoyed it, but it wasn't a blue-bowed goose, so I didn't get it. However, I looked a little bit further down here, and I did find a blue-bowed goose item. There was a little blue-bowed goose clock here. Well, I guess it's technically Gertrude Goose. I kind of threw it in my blue-bowed goose category, and she was around the same time, so she was $3, and I don't know, she's a hand-painted ceramic clock. I thought she was kind of cute, so we'll add her to the Save the Blue-bowed Goose collection for sale in my Etsy. Yeah, this is the bigger section on the bottom that makes me super nervous. I don't tend to pull these out. If I see something that piques my interest, I'll kind of glance over and I'll try to work my way back towards it. But usually I just can't deal with it. It's so nerve-wracking the way they have them set up. I saw this handmade piece in the back, so I decided to try to get at it, and it was this cute, adorable little quilted teddy bear in pink, perfect for a little girl's nursery. Or I feel like there's a lot of grandmothers that would kind of like something like this as well. You know, people that like to quilt or craft. They kind of are into that kind of thing, so I did pick that up to resell. I paused the video so I could have two hands and try to get this Last Supper picture out. I was kind of curious what it was, how much it might be, and unfortunately the mirror was kind of slid down. It might have been an easy fix, but I was trying to just wiggle it with my finger and it didn't have much budge to it, and it had a sealed back, so I don't know how easy of a fix that would have been. This was just a little handmade treat jar someone made probably for someone's last Valentine's Day. Apparently they didn't want it this year, or maybe they're not Valentines anymore. Well. This was kind of interesting. They had this Japan sticker up under the handle, and that's a really weird place to put it. I was questioning whether this was actually a Japan piece. I wasn't quite sure. It had a lot of crazing in it. It could have been, but that was an odd place to put a Japan sticker. I love vintage colored glassware, especially green, so I saw this grapes and leaves patterned fruit bowl on the bottom here. It's in the strawberry shape, and it was a good price, so I did pick that up as well, and I believe I'm going to keep that for myself. I'm not exactly sure the maker on these milk glass mugs, and there was a little set down there with the saucers and mugs, but as you can see the red trim was coming off of it, the paint was, so it didn't seem like a super good quality. I didn't bother to pick those up. I love picking up this Takahashi Japan stoneware. I love the look to this. This had some issues. There were some flaws in the original pottery and the paint, so I didn't grab it. But if it's in good condition, I'm always picking those up. They sell for okay, and I just really enjoy the looks of them myself. I got excited because I found a matching fruit bowl to go with my green one, right? Except for it was in amber, so it had all this weird junk laying in it. As you can see, I was pulling out stuff, but I got it out and I saw the price was only $2. I was like, wow, that's great, and I figured I'd probably resell this one, and I was checking it over, making sure there was no damage, and I almost put it in my cart, and then at the last minute, I saw up in the corner, you can see right there, really tiny, there was a chip at the top around the stem, so unfortunately, I did leave it because of that reason. I haven't seen milk glass in the thrift store for quite a long time. I still see the bud vases every once in a while, but it's been a bit. And so I checked this one over here. This is an Ohio melt glass, and it's just a cute little planter. There was a couple of small flaws in it. There was no significant reason to leave it behind, really, other than the fact that I already have a few that I already need to go ahead and list. So I decided, hey, I should probably go ahead and list the ones I already got. So I put that back. I've actually sold the same Alaska plate before. So I almost got it, but there was a weird glue job on the back where they had glued the hanger. So it was a little off-putting. I put it back. It wasn't that serious, I guess, but I just wasn't sure if I could trust that it was secure enough, just the way it looked. And then beer steins are hit and miss for me. This one is a mini one, and it had a boat on it. That's a little bit unusual of a subject matter on beer steins. Usually they are a bunch of men sitting around a table drinking, right? Or some kind of a scenery. But that one was kind of interesting with a boat, so I did pick that up. They also had this really neat cubist patterned milk glass. It is a sugar and creamer set. I believe they only had $2 on it. I grabbed that as well to resell. There are a lot of milk glass lovers out there, so I definitely was going to pick up that where it was a complete set. Usually when I spy them, they are one or the other, so anytime I can see them together, I'm definitely going to pick them up for a good price. This was a really cool find. I think it might have been my favorite find of the day. It's this vintage glass bake milk glass fish platter. You would go ahead and serve your fish dinner up in this, and it might have even originally came in a basket, I believe, that you could use almost as a hot plate for it, but I think it's still beautiful without the basket, and a very gorgeous piece for any milk glass lover especially, so I definitely picked that up. They had this notebook randomly here. It was not used. It had this pressed flower detailing in the front, which I really liked, and also it wasn't used. So I definitely picked that up. It's definitely my style, and I will just go ahead and use that around the house. It was priced $2, but I believe she gave it to me for $1. I think she thought it was a little high at $2, so worked for me. And I like that triangle cutting board, but it was really cut up pretty badly, and I suppose you could sand it down. I'm not quite sure how to do that. Now, if you're a reseller, something that is always good to look at are the dishware sets, especially, and they're not necessarily quick sellers, but they are more of a long game seller where you can make a decent profit off of it if you don't mind sitting on it for a little bit. Most things in the thrift store I do not look up comps for. I just kind of go by what I feel, kind of what I know already. But dishware, where they do tend to have them priced on the higher end, usually between $8 to maybe up to $20, sometimes $40, I definitely look up comps to make sure I'm not ripping myself off. So that is something I do recommend looking at comps for. If you find a set of dishes, just go ahead and look on eBay, look at solds, and see what they might be going for, because you want to make sure it's worth your while. It does cost a little bit to ship them. They are heavy, especially if you get a large set, and shipping is a little difficult with the dishes sometimes. So definitely look up comps for dishes is my recommendation. This Holly Hobby plate is from 1971, and you could see when I did a close-up there, it was pretty scratched up at the top of it, so that was super unfortunate. Because the price was good, had it been in good condition, I could have sold it for around $20 plus shipping. So definitely be on the lookout for those kind of items. Holly Hobby sells well for me. I used to pick it up to sell in my antique booth, and it never really sold the greatest for me then. But once I started selling online, it definitely sells for me online. So you just have to find the right market for certain items, and Holly Hobby does very well online. Isn't it funny how some holidays just don't get the recognition that others do? This was the only Valentine's Day thing I found, and it's almost Valentine's Day. So that was a little unfortunate. I don't know if it's been picked over or if that's literally all they had. They had this vintage hand-painted butterfly dish. I thought it was really gorgeous. And anyone that loves butterflies would definitely appreciate this. They only had it priced at $2. They must have been running low on items, so they pulled a few books that they found to be interesting, a little on the vintage side. I like this one, and I did pick it up. This Room Is Mine. It's a vintage book. The binding was a little messed up. I think I'm going to try to re-glue that. I think that's how they originally had it in there anyways. But it's in perfect condition other than that. I think it's an easy fix. and the graphics in it were what sold me on it. I just thought they were great, so I did go ahead and get that. This here was super cute. I didn't know what it was. It looked like it was missing a salt and pepper shaker, was my best guess. And yeah, so I didn't put it in my cart because it definitely didn't look like it was out there. I did pick up this little mid-century piece here. It tells you the temperature and humidity, and I just thought it was adorable. It wasn't too badly priced at $4, and that is something I might be keeping, or it might be for sale. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it yet. It depends how much they go for. Now, there is money to be made in these wilting cake pans. You really have to know what to look for. Different ones are going to go for more. Batman sells really well, around 20 to 25. Mickey and Minnie do okay. They definitely sell better if they have the inserts and instructions included. I almost got this one here, the 1983 pumpkin one. The market's pretty saturated on them, and they only go for about $5 to $12, and that's with shipping included usually. So yeah, I didn't end up picking any up. If I looked up all of these individually, I might have found one or two I could have made maybe $5 to $10 off of, but nothing very profitable. They do better sold in lots. So if you are at a yard sale and you see them and you can get them for cheap enough, you definitely should pick them up, I think, and you could do okay selling it in a lot. I probably would have picked up this figurine here with the donkey on it. It is vintage. It had a chip on the donkey's ear it ended up seeing, so that's why I set it back down. This I thought was kind of cute. It is a modern piece, so I didn't get it, but it just has this couple of books and has a couple of things you would find on a desk, a little time watch. What are those called? Pocket watch. Time watch. Awesome. And little glasses, and then is that like an ink, like an old school ink and pen, like you'd have a feather pen, so it was kind of cute. This here was a vintage left-in bride and groom. I don't see bride and grooms like this too often, so those are always fun to see and pick up. I did end up getting it. I just set it back down because I was still looking there, but I did pick that up. It'll go for okay. It's nothing, nothing that's too incredible of a profit, but I definitely wanted to get it. It is vintage, so I'm always grabbing the vintage stuff, right? Since I do sell on eBay now, I can sell newer items that aren't necessarily vintage. So this tiki light fountain here is battery operated, and I looked them up. I was a little curious because I stick to vintage usually, and I wasn't sure what this might go for. It does go for around 20 to 25, so at $4, it's definitely something I felt was worth picking up. I feel like I can make enough off of it to justify getting it. These here are really fun to see. This is a vintage Avon chess set. They had put these out in the entire chess set, and I only had two, so had I just picked these up, they would have sold for maybe $12 with free shipping, and the condition on the horse head was at the best. If it was in good condition, I might have grabbed them just because I thought they were really neat. Though I'm not into the perfumes and fragrances, I do like the attention to detail and the thought process Avon put into all of their items. I think they really had good marketing and good packaging, so it's always fun to see those items. I always do really well selling these vintage hand-painted ceramic wall art pieces. These ones might be a little difficult where they are seasonal. There's a fall one there, and this one is more of a spring-summer setting, which is kind of nice. They're the same size, so if it was in the same home, you could put it in the, same spot, and you could just switch it out with the season, so you won't have to worry about finding a spot for it changing out the season. So you guys following me there? You know what I mean. It's kind of nice that they're the same size and easily swapped out. I was disappointed when I saw on the top shelf, I could just barely see the strawberry. When I pulled it down, it's this beautiful spoon rest, but it has significant damage throughout the strawberries. There's lots of little nicks in it, so I did not get it. Had it been in good condition, definitely would have picked it up. They had this vintage Walt Disney plate here, this little collector's plate you can hang on the wall. They only sell for about $10. They had it priced at $3, I think it said. And, when it's all said and done after shipping and all that, I don't think it was definitely worth it to get it, so I left it behind. They had this box here of vintage Trivets. Every time I take these out, they're always missing the little hangers, so I opted not to get them this time. Normally in the past I probably still would have, but I'm trying to take a break from most Trivets like that. I have quite a stockpile, and Trivets are hit or miss with whether they'll sell or not. These here were kind of intriguing. I don't tend to get much plastics, but I did like the image on these. I didn't end up picking them up because I didn't see any kind of marking, and I did a quick search to try to see if I could find anything. I didn't find anything on them, so I did leave them behind. If you happen to know anything about them, I would still be interested to know, just so I have that knowledge if I happen across them again in the future. They did appear to be on the vintage side, maybe around the 1980s, late 70s to me, so if you do know. I did look at the linen section. There were a few nice things I found there. These in particular are some cloth napkins. They had beautiful floral details on them, and then there was a tablecloth that went with it. The tablecloth did have some stains. I did pick this set up. I'm hoping I can get the stains out, and I will list it as soon as I can get around to getting the stains out of that. If not, I might just sell the cloth napkins by themselves because those appear to be good to go. This was about the time I saw a subscriber to my channel. I believe her name was Donna, and she was from Blue Hill. So if you're watching, hi, it was nice to meet you. That has only happened to me one other time where someone has recognized me from my channel, so it's always an interesting experience. We had a nice conversation, and yeah, it was really fun to meet someone that watches my channel. These here are vintage Fire King soup mugs. They tend to sell better when they are multicolored. They came in those 1970s colors of brown, green, yellow, and orange, I believe. So I didn't think with just two brown I'd be able to make enough off of them, and the brown paint around the handle was a little bit wearing, so I did leave it behind. Now, they had some tea mugs on the top shelf that I thought were really neat. They were all handmade pottery pieces. Those orange ones are really cool. They had the individual, extra side thing where you could set the tea in, and then these ones here had the little divot in the mug where you can hang the string to your tea. So those are both very neat. I didn't pick them up, but I did appreciate them for what they were. I did look at the books. They have a small book section at this store, which is kind of nice. It's not as much to look through, but it makes it not so overwhelming, right? I saw this Audrey Hepburn book on the bottom shelf. It's just a picture book of her life, essentially. I think it came out around 1997, I want to say, and I figured it was in theme with a lot of the items I like to pick up, vintage themed, so I picked that up for resale. I figured someone could appreciate that. I also glanced at this Maine book, and I feel like coffee table books sell pretty well. I didn't really see anything that I felt would be worthy to pick this up, really. I mean, it was an okay book, but I didn't really find it to be that interesting, so I didn't pick it up. I saw this hiking guide to upstate New York, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I did look up the comps on that because I don't know how much hiking I would be doing there. I always enjoyed looking at the books. I used to just pick them up mainly for myself, but I have been trying to get more in the habit of looking for ones I could pick up to resell. I like Martha Stewart. I have a collection of her books. I did not have that one yet, but it was all chewed up on the corner, like a puppy got to it, or a toddler, a teething toddler or something. So I didn't feel like paying $5 for a chewed up book, so I did not get that. And I'm always checking out the cookbooks, of course. I found one of interest to me that I picked up. It was a soup book. It was a little pricey at $5, I felt, but I still picked it up because I like soup. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, food to eat. And the thing I liked about this book, it had it by months, and usually people think you can only have soup during the fall and winter time, right? So I was interested to see what the recipes were for the summertime, especially. Usually it's just like eat gazpacho, right? So it'll be interesting to find out if there is a good soup recipe for the summertime that makes sense for the season. So I did go ahead and get that. I did check out a few of the dresses on my way out. I like to look for the vintage ones in particular, or something with this kind of style to it. I do enjoy as well, but that one was stained, as you could see. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Make sure you are subscribed if you want to see all of the other things I picked up in today's thrift haul. And like I said, we'll talk more about what I paid for them, what I think I can resell them for, what I'm keeping. And yeah, it was a fun trip, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.